Well, folks, we keep hearing that diversity is our strength. This is one of the big slogans. Diversity, not intellectual diversity, racial diversity. Well, in order to achieve that racial diversity, you need to engage in some good old-fashioned racism, which is what's happening at America's major universities when it comes to, who gets in. Last week, Claudine Gay objectively humiliated herself before Congress. She's the president of Harvard. Just to recall her performance, here was some of the highlight reel.
I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign.
Okay, so that was Harvard's esteemed president, again, failing to simply state that calling for genocide of Jews was in violation of Harvard's speech policies. Instead, Claudine Gay supposedly clung to free speech, violation of which is constant and ever-present at Harvard. Here, for example, is an excerpt from Harvard's mandatory Title IX training session for undergraduate students. It contains a, quote, power and control wheel that helps students identify harmful conduct. It says, quote, around the edge of the power and control wheel, you'll notice attitudes, beliefs, and systems like racism, sexism, misogyny, ableism, transphobia, and xenophobia. These apparently, quote, contribute to an environment that perpetuates violence. You don't even recognize some of these terms. Cis heterosexism, which is the idea that being cisgender, meaning a boy who knows he is a boy, and heterosexual, and believing that's the norm, is somehow a form of discrimination. According to one of the presented scenarios in the Title IX training, quote, Andres repeated using the wrong pronouns, commenting about Logan's appearance, making remarks about Logan's gender identity, contribute to a climate of disrespect, and may also violate Harvard's policies. So, if you say a man is a man, you may be violating Harvard's policies. If you say death to the Jews, well, context dependent. This is the same university, you'll recall, that banned prospective admittee Kyle Kashuv of Parkland High School for sending texts that included the N-word in them when he was 16 years old. But Claudine Gay is all about free speech for the Jew haters. Again, the only way to explain all of this is that it is part and parcel of the equity hierarchy established by the academic left over the course of at least 2 generations. Some groups under this rubric are more equal than other groups. And Claudine Gay is part of the privileged elite. She is one of those groups. That is why she is, unlike Liz McGill over at Penn, unfireable. Liz McGill is white, Claudine Gay is black. That means Claudine Gay cannot be fired. This week, Chris Rufo and Aaron Sabarium and other journalists uncovered vast evidence of Gay's alleged plagiarism, from her PhD dissertation to other multiple published papers. Multiple professors who were plagiarized have now come forward to condemn Gay's plagiarism. That includes Miami University professor Ann Williamson, who said, quote, it does look like plagiarism to me. If they're going to do what they did, I should be cited as a reference. My first reaction is shock. The second is puzzlement. All she had to do is give me credit. Carol Swain, another scholar Gay allegedly plagiarized, said, quote, what is bothering me is not just that there's passages she didn't put in quotation marks. When I look at her work, I feel like her whole research agenda, her whole career was based on my work. Swain actually went a lot further. She said, quote, she became president of Harvard and got recognition as being its first black president. I don't believe her record warranted tenure. I believe I had to meet a much higher standard than she did. It's clear to me standards were lowered in the mid-1990s, and the elites came together and decided they were going to defend affirmative action. It's clear to me she was a beneficiary of that. I blame her committee, and I blame white progressives equally. Swain, who is black, concluded, quote, white progressives have always rewarded the blacks who supported their ideas. A white male would probably already be gone. That, of course, is exactly right, but not at Harvard, where the board has full-scale defended Claudine Gay, saying they did a full investigation into the plagiarism allegations as soon as they received wind of them back in October. But here's the thing. Even that was apparently a lie. Equity has to be upheld at all costs, particularly at the cost of the truth. Truth is just not a value to the radical left. It turns out that the university, once hit with plagiarism allegations against Gay back in October, didn't investigate. Instead, they went into full defense mode. According to the New York Post, quote, Harvard University covered up a high-level investigation into whether its controversial president was a plagiarist and used an expensive law firm to threaten the Post over our own probe. The Post contacted the university on October 24th, asking for comment on more than 24 instances in which Gay's words appeared to closely parallel words, phrases, or sentences in published works by other academics. When the Post brought the allegations to Harvard, Jonathan Swain, its senior executive director of media relations and communications, asked for more time to review Gay's work. A day later, Swain, who was part of the Biden-Harris transition team and a one-time Hillary Clinton aide, said he would, quote, get back in touch over the next couple of days. But he didn't. 2 days later, on October 27th, the Post was instead sent a 15-page letter by Thomas Clare, a high-powered Virginia-based attorney with the firm Clare Locke, who identified himself as defamation counsel for Harvard University and Gay. So, there was a tacit threat issued to the New York Post not to print a story about Gay's alleged plagiarism because of defamation concerns. Harvard must defend the precious. Gay is the perfect emblem of equity, an underqualified black woman who has been elevated particularly because of that status to the presidency of the nation's most storied university. She is too woke to fail. Because if she fails, what does that say about the entire Potemkin village of diversity, equity, and inclusion? The holidays are here. The last thing you need during this busy time of year is to miss out on a great night's sleep. That is why my team uses Beam's Dream Powder. Beam's Dream Powder contains a powerful, all-natural blend of ingredients, including magnesium L-theanine. It's not just your run-of-the-mill sleep aid. It's a concoction carefully crafted to help you slip into the sweet embrace of rest without the grogginess that often accompanies other sleep remedies. Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health. You have to have a consistent nighttime routine to function at your best. Today, my listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. It's their best-selling hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like cinnamon cocoa, chocolate peanut butter, and mint chip. Better sleep has never tasted better. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy before bedtime. If you find yourself battling those bedtime blues, give it a shot. Your weary self will thank you. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, take advantage of their biggest sale of the year. Get up to 40% off and a free frother for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Ben. Discount auto-apply to checkout. No code necessary. That's shop, BEAM.com/Ben for up to 40% off, plus a free frother. Go check them out right now. That's shopbeam.com/Ben for the special deal. What do green eggs in your holiday family dinner have in common? They need ham. You can get a spiral cut heritage pork masterpiece from Good Ranchers for free with any Good Ranchers subscription. That is a whopping $99 value you can get for free on your first order. Now listen, I'm going to have to take all your word for how good ham is. Never tasted it? Don't know. I hear from my producers, Savvy in particular, that ham is amazing, but you have to subscribe to any box and you'll get your free holiday ham included in any order. The subscription, by the way, is awesome. You get $25 off every order, a free gift in every third box, and free shipping on express delivery. Good Ranchers has something for every meat eater in your life. They've got award-winning boxes full of steakhouse quality American meat. They've sent boxes to all my producers. They can't stop talking about the quality of the steak and chicken. They also sent me kosher salmon from their wild-caught seafood box. Yes, I'm the sole recipient of their kosher beneficence. And I'll tell you, it was really good. The best part is knowing exactly where your meat comes from, a local American farm. Head on over to goodranchers.com. Subscribe today with code Shapiro. Claim your free limited stock holiday ham before those sell out. Act fast. The offer is not going to last forever. Head on over to goodranchers.com. Use code Shapiro when you subscribe. Get your free 10-pound holiday ham. Don't settle for that same old holiday fare. Elevate your feast with Good Ranchers this year. Good Ranchers is American meat delivered. Why can't Clouding Gay be fired? Well, because if she were fired, it might undermine the DEI principle. And Harvard is a university totally reliant on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion principles. As Gay herself said in a statement after the Supreme Court threw out affirmative action as unconstitutional, quote, the fundamental principle that deep and transformative teaching, learning, and research depend upon a community comprising people of many backgrounds, perspectives, and lived experiences. That principle is as true and important today as it was yesterday. So too are the abiding values that have enabled us and every great educational institution to pursue the high calling of educating creative thinkers and bold leaders, of deepening human knowledge, and of promoting progress, justice, and human flourishing. Now, Harvard doesn't mean that in terms of ideas, of course. There's like 2 registered Republicans at the entirety of Harvard. It is wildly stacked to the left. The entire faculty of Harvard might have a dozen professors who voted Republican in the last election cycle, maybe. So what does Harvard mean in terms of diversity? They mean it in terms of race. This is why, according to the Harvard Crimson, in an analysis of the period 1995 to 2013, that is an 18-year period, Asian Americans admitted to Harvard earned an average SAT score of 767 across all sections. That is an average of 1534. An average, okay? That means that there are a ton of Asian students who are getting a 1600, which is the maximum. If you look at the chart that I put up here, again, this is from the Harvard Crimson, look at that red line. It is so far and away above every other race, it's insane. Meanwhile, white admits, they were forced to earn an average of 745 across all sections. That, of course, would be a 1490, a very, very high score. Hispanics, however, had to earn an average of 718. That's a 1436. Black admits come in dead last. Even after Native American admits, they had to earn an average of 704 or a 1408. on the SAT. That is the average SAT score. Remember, that is not the top SAT score. That is not the bottom SAT score. That is the average SAT score. In other words, the average Harvard Asian American had to outperform the average black admittee at Harvard by 126 points to get in. I promise you, by the way, that the spread on Asian American admittees does not go all the way down to 1,300. It's not as though there are a bunch of Asian Americans who got in with a 1,300. But if you have a 1408 black average, that means there are a lot of black students who got in with a 1,300 and some that got in with a 1,500. For context, a 1408 is below the average SAT score for admittees at every top university in the United States. It's below the average at every top university. Like, pick university ranked number 20, it is below the average admittee at that university. The only way to justify this sort of racism is to suggest that there are other benefits that come to Harvard from admitting people who are black, other than difference of perspective and SAT score, because lower SAT scores and also not a different perspective. What are those other benefits? Well, the unspoken assumption is that a racially diverse student body or faculty or administration is self-justifying. Now, why would racial quotas be self-justifying? There's only one reason. Because meritocracy itself is supposedly unjust and wrong and racist. You're doing something good merely by putting people of various skin colors in a room together. Because if you were to adjudicate based on merit, that would be inherently bad. It's not that the room that is more diverse is inherently good. It's that the thing that opposes, the meritocracy, is inherently bad. And that is precisely the proposition that Harvard puts forward. This is why minds everywhere are boggling at Harvard, the apex of the supposed American meritocracy, right? You only get into Harvard if you're a high achiever. When I got into Harvard Law, it's because I got a 176 on my LSAT. It is not because I was promoting diversity of viewpoint. They didn't care about that. This is why people are freaking out that Harvard, again, supposed to be about the meritocracy, is now promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in the face of merit. And in fact, making clear that if you are part of a higher achieving group, this makes you an oppressor who can be and should be discriminated against. But of course, that's what universities have been promoting for decades. Clouding gay is the natural consequence of that perversity. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Facts, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.